Well, look here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
And there's no objection.
One of the things that I find it a privilege and an expectation of mine, a priority really, when it comes to this podcast, the QB zone, is diversity. Diversity in the sense that I want something for everyone. I want anyone and everyone to be able to listen to it and be able to get something from it. But diversity also in regards to the material that is discussed, the people that I engage with to discuss the various topics. It would be a failure, negligent on my behalf, to talk about wanting diversity and being a multifaceted, multi-layered person that surrounds myself and prides myself in interacting and having in my life multifaceted and multi-layered people, and don't talk about something that is very important to my identity as a minority in this country. Historically black colleges and institutions are a huge backbone and facet, and not just black history, but American history, because black history is American history. And with the pride and successes of these institutions that for too long has gone diminished, overlooked, ignored purposely, to be a small part of this wave that for the past few years has started to bring more and more awareness to the success, the prosperity, and the quality of these institutions, I in no way, shape, or form was going to hesitate to discuss and shed light on this matter. And so it was very important to me to just highlight a few things separate from what my guests will share that you guys will be hearing from. And when it comes to HBCUs, the total economic impact of HBCU spending is $14.8 billion. That is equivalent to a ranking in the top 200 or the Fortune 500 list of America's largest corporation. This estimate includes direct spending by HBCUs on faculty, employees, academic programs and operations, and by students attending the institutions, as well as the follow-on effects of that spending. Public HBCUs account for 9.6 billion, while private HBCUs account for the 5.2 billion. The total impact that HBCU have on employment is 134,090 jobs. The nation's HBCUs generate this amount of jobs in total for their local and regional economies, equivalent to the jobs provided by Oracle, the nation's 48th largest private employer. Of this total, 57,868 are on-campus jobs, and 76,222 are off-campus jobs. Let's go back to history. Only a few colleges dedicated to educating African American students were in existence before the Civil War. After the war, and through the efforts of missionary societies, the Freedmen's Bureau, and African American churches, these institutions began to proliferate. It would take decades and new federal law before states were required to provide African Americans, as well as whites, with access to higher education. But instead of integrating white-only institutions, many southern states responded by creating separate colleges and universities for African American students. Today, there are 101 accredited HBCUs, private and public, concentrated in 19 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. They enroll almost 300,000 students, approximately 80% of whom are African American, and 70% are from low-income families. HBCUs also provide a solid basis for even higher academic achievement. According to the National Science Foundation, the top 8 institutions where African American PhDs in science and engineering earned their bachelor degrees were all from HBCUs. I could not do another podcast without wanting to do one on HBCUs. And so, in thinking about the different people that I would love to have involved, I absolutely had to have these two women. These are two women that I have known for some years. You guys have met Jokera before on previous episodes, but you guys are going to now meet a new face, Miss Brittany McMillon. These are two women that I was excited to have them jump off my HBCU talk. So I want to introduce you guys to Jokera McNeil and Miss Brittany McMillon. How are you ladies doing today?
Hey, how are you?
Absolutely.
Doing well.
Jojo, you good?
Doing well, doing well.
Absolutely. So we have Miss Jokera McNeil from Florida A&M University. She was telling us before we started, she is from the highest of 7 hills. And then we have from the deep, dirty south of Florida, way down there at the bottom, Miss Brittany from Florida Memorial University now, right?
Yes.
Big difference. Used to be called Florida Memorial College. Those
Yes.
of you in Florida, you know we call it FLOMO, but yes, Florida Memorial University. So Brittany, what did you always know, first of all, that you want to go to HBCU? And if so, what led you to FLOMO, Florida Memorial?
So yes, I've always known that I wanted to go to, like, it was never well, I'm not gonna say an option, but it was never a thought for me not to go to an HBCU. I actually wanted to go to another HBCU, like, probably since I was like in the 3rd grade, but then my senior year of high school, I was just like, I'm gonna try the South. You know, I liked the school, the environment was really good. It had like a family-friendly environment. The classrooms were small, like what I wanted it to be. And so I was like, I'm gonna try it out. If I don't like it, I can always transfer, which is my whole thing. You know, if I don't like it, have a plan B. And so I stayed there for 4 years, and it was the best decision I could have made ever.
How about you, Jokera? What made you choose FAMU? I know just us being in Brevard County, we know a lot of people from FAM and Bethune-Cookman, but what made you choose FAMU? And did you know when we was in Brevard County that you was gonna always go to one?
So to be honest, I did not want to go to FAM. I did, and going to a HBCU actually wasn't necessarily at the top of my list at the time, or growing up when thinking about going to college. However, once I started, I think around about 9th, maybe 9th, 10th grade, when you're really trying to decide, okay, what are you going to do after high school? What are you going to major in? You know, what kind of direction you want to go in. And I had made the decision that I was going to major I wanted to do business management or business administration. And then in researching different schools or whatnot, I was able to learn about the business program at FAMU and the accolades that they received many times over. So that became a top school on my list, not to mention just family ties. My cousins graduated from there. So, I mean, ultimately, I guess you could call us a FAMU school, because usually, families venture to either, one of the HBCUs and kind of follow suit. And my family, they went to FAM. I didn't necessarily want to go at first because I felt like everybody goes there.
Right.
But the funny thing is, once I got there, you don't realize, like, you don't see those people. Like, you very seldom, I mean, because, the campus is so widespread, you don't see them all the time. But yeah, so my main reason that directed me to FAM was specifically the business program. And yeah, and I can't say that I once I got there, I fell in love. And, till the day I die I bleed orange and green.
I know that's right. Brittany, what would you say, being at Florida, what were 3 things that they instilled in you that has carried on personally and professionally even to this day?
I would say our motto: character, leadership, and service. Character, just because your character carries weight, professionally, in the community, whatever the case may be. Like, you have to and should have strong character. Service, it's all about serving others, right? And your fellow mankind.
Absolutely.
And part of the reason why I have, the organization nonprofit, it's because, the foundation that I had at home, and then also at Florida Memorial. And then I think some of the classes that we had to take and being involved in student organizations, gave me the opportunity to show leadership and to grow within, those different avenues. So I would say those would be like the top 3 things that Florida Memorial has instilled in me.
And being at Florida Memorial, what were some of the student organizations you were involved in?
So I was involved in Student Government Association, Pre-Alumni Council, which is a student organization through UNCF, United Negro College Fund.
Nice.
And then I also, I sung a little bit in gospel choir. But yeah, those was the 3 organizations that I was really active in school.
Nice. Jokera, what would you say Florida A&M instilled in you that has carried on through this day?
Oof. Well, definitely a sense of pride, and a sense of pride of, like, just getting to know who you are and being able to accept that and stand on that. I think those are definitely some of the things that came through, because our teachers are you find those professors who were more than just a professor as far as, like, teaching you whatever the subject is that you were in that class for, but they went beyond that and expressed to you how things might or would be for you, outside of once you graduate. Because for us, being an HBCU, like, they gave it to us raw and real. Nothing was sugar coated. So the different struggles that we have to deal with in the workforce, and how to manage and deal with them. Also, you definitely have to have a strong sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Determination in terms of, like, staying dedicated to your studies, with all the outside activities that be going on, as well as following up with some of the offices in terms of making sure your funding and
Hello, somebody. Yeah.
making sure your funding and your courses are in line and straight.
Right.
I will say, definitely, like, a follow-up and knowing how to how to approach and speak to people and keep up with those type of things, I think are definitely things that I've done and carried over into day-to-day work interactions with people. But yeah, those just to name a few.
And would you guys say that you had this, probably more so going to HBCUs, but just knowing that you have a lot of people who go to college that unfortunately aren't able to balance social, personal, classes, academic, all that kind of stuff, they fail and have to move back home. I was so determined to not be one of those individuals. Did you guys kind of, especially with, HBCUs having that stereotype of being a party school, was that one of the things that drove you guys as well, determined to not fall into that stereotype or that statistic?
I would say yes. Like God knows I wasn't trying to come back home. I just wasn't. But I think, being at HBCU, it taught you that, like, yes, you can have fun. Yes, you can go to parties, but when you get that 8 o'clock class in the morning,
oh my God, you
need to roll up out of bed and get to class. And I just think that's just, I don't know. I think that's the way of HBCU. I don't think it matters which one you go to. I think that's one thing that all HBCUs do have in common is instilling, that balance.
Right.
Because we party hard, but we also, HBCUs have a high success rate as far as, graduates and, when it comes to PhDs and masters and all of that.
Right.
So I think that within itself, speaks for itself.
How about you?
Right. And just to follow up, being held accountable, because those majority institutions, I never hear of them talk about we had attendance policy. Like you missed 3 classes. Okay, you are on the teacher could fail you.
Wow.
Not only attendance policy, you show up late if you want to that class. You might as well don't even knock on that door.
Hello?
Really?
Don't even open it because we're not letting you in. You may get a 5-minute grace period. And that depends on how nice that teacher is, but its class starts at 7:05.
You better be there at 7.
If they're walking in the door at 7:04, 7:05, and they're starting off with roll call.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
passing that sheet around, and there's a line under there, which means if you sign underneath that line, that means you're late. And so many late, they're gonna dock some points off your final grade.
I definitely know some people who failed due to attendance. And like I said, 3, we're talking 3.
Wow.
3 classes. And then as well as being late, I definitely, stayed up late one night trying to finish a paper. And, I was just a little late to the class to get there to turn the paper in. He would not let me in that class. He did not let me in.
Before you had to turn that paper online, when you had to physically walk in that class with that
paper. Physically walk in and hand in the paper.
Wow.
Thank God he had a heart and allowed me to still submit it
right
at the end of class because I stayed and waited. However,
you stayed and waited outside the door?
Yes, okay. But he would not. But he definitely was one of the professors. All of them weren't like that. But again, you have those certain ones, and he was definitely one of those professors. He did not play about being late, and he would not like. I'm like, please, no, it doesn't matter. It was your first time. No, you cannot come into my class.
Also prepares us, Joe. Not to cut you off, as far as being on time. When it comes to work, right? And interviews and all of that, you have to be on time and, be early, but don't show up late or else you're going to miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I just think that's just something that's been instilled into us. Because unfortunately, we're already Black, so you got one strike against you there. And then, so it's like, no, show up and show your best and do your best.
Right. I think that's amazing because going to a PWI is a totally opposite experience. First of all, because of tradition, because of where a lot of your HBCUs risen out of, there's a different motivation and drive to want to put a certain fire in y'all, to want to see y'all succeed, to want to call you out if they see certain things, and like Jokera said, hold you accountable. You ain't having that in PWI, first of all. The only time you might be held accountable if you're an athlete and you are on, let's say, an academic scholarship, and you probably gonna have to be on like the football or basketball, those sports that typically bring in funds for the school. Those are really the only times you'll be held accountable. And so when you talk about just missing classes, for example, no, you can be, I don't recall ever having a professor where they made a deal about, you know, certain amount of times you're late, they're gonna dock your, you know, your grade, or just flat out not showing up. That's something that's needed. And, and like you said, it prepared you for the workplace, assignments, interviews, meetings, to be on time. I think for me, I lacked a lot of that because, first of all, I was at a high school where, don't get me wrong, I love everything about Palm Bay High, but because I was, I'm not gonna say I'm an Einstein, but I got good grades fairly easy. I didn't have to rely myself, you know, and we all know high school can be easy any goddamn way. So I kind of took that to college. And I remember my first semester, first of all, I had to kind of grandma well, I was still in her pocket, so I still need to show her what my grades are. So I remember my first semester, I had all C's, first of all. In high school, she didn't play no shit like that. C's, first of all, she always concedes C's, dignified F's. That's what she called. I don't know what she.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
We're gonna skip over D, but a C is a dignified F. Like, so, of course, I had all kind of lecture, whatever. But I think for me, I had to hold my own self accountable because the professors weren't gonna do it. They're gonna get a check regardless. And that was just the mentality in that environment. They didn't care about you. You was just a number. You had a huge, FIU had huge stadium classrooms. Unless you took one of the African American studies type of classes, which I did as an elective, then they will hold you accountable to a certain extent. But most of your classes, you were in the stadium classroom. You were literally just a number. And then I would say my junior year, you started with them having stuff online. But you until I joined Greek life, that's when certain things were instilled in me as far as being on time. You know, they have the phrase, you know, being on time is to be late, to be early is to be on time, you know, and then there's some other parts to that when you're Greek, but, you know, and then, you know, learning how to network, learning how to deal with different personalities, learning how to be in these environments where you knew how to interact and be confident, hold your head high, shoulders back when you're dealing in these rooms with other crowds. And so I think that with you all, day one, certain things are being instilled in y'all. Whereas being at a PWI, I felt you had to really kind of learn and instill certain things in yourself. And then you will hope that maybe you found a mentor or something online because you might have joined Black Student Union. You might have joined student government. And at that time, if you lucked out and the president was Black, which we did have a small period of time where the student government president was Black for us. And so, of course, that benefited us as people of color as far as what was accessible to us. But it was even with things such as preparing you for interviews, how to dress, how to write a resume. These are things that was outsourced, for example, which I'm sure this was probably a part of y'all student organizations or just things that professors instilled in y'all. And so this is some of the reasons why I've always felt like I did myself a disservice, and I've said it multiple times before, by not going to one. Even if I went to one for, you know, my bachelor's, like I always felt like I should have went to one for my master's, just when it comes to, once again, that pride. I don't got no pride for FIU. Like, I wanted my degree and I wanted to get help. I didn't even walk. I didn't walk to none of my degrees. I wanted to.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I didn't care that much. I had good memories. Don't get me wrong. I definitely learned a lot. I wanted send me my paper in the mail because by this time I had even moved out to Brevard County. I won't go back down there to walk, but just send my stuff in the mail. Don't go back for homecoming.
Oh.
Now, I will now for Brittany's school. I will go
Definitely
back
not
down
ran
there.
into you at homecoming.
Right, I will go back down there for her school's homecoming, you know, and then of course just being back down here in South Florida and being involved in life, you know, I still more affiliate to her school than my own. But no, I didn't have that kind of pride for my school. I got a good education. I wanted to be done and move on to the next step.
Wow, I do think, and Jokera, I don't know how you feel, like getting your graduate degree from a PWI. Even though I got it like much later in life, it was definitely a different experience. Even the interaction with the professors was it was different. I don't know, it just made me be like, oh, I see what, you know, what I was prepared for, you know, going to a HBCU and undergraduate. But yeah, I remember when I was getting my master's or whatever, I did like my thesis paper was on, you know, HBCU women who majored in STEM and just talking about their experience and all of that.
Right.
And so I was talking to my professor, who was also my CAP advisor, about, you know, the things that I found and doing the studies and interviewing with them. And we got into a very, very heated discussion. And I had to be like, do we want this degree, Brittany, or do we not want this degree? Because it was like, and here's the thing, I don't care what anybody says. It's like, I feel like there's a bond that HBCUs have, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, you know, one HBCU may rag on another HBCU, but don't you come from the outside.
Absolutely, you better not.
Think about an HBCU, like, no, it's gonna go sideways. So he made the comment to me about, he said, do you think HBCU should train Black women in so many words of how not to be perceived as hostile? What? Or the angry Black, yeah. So yeah, so he made that comment to me, and I had, you know, I was sitting in my chair, whatever, and I had to take like a quick breath, because I was like, how are we gonna respond? Are we gonna respond, you know,
as the hostile?
Hello.
How are we gonna respond? So I sat up in my chair and leaned across his desk, because I wanted to make sure you understood what I was saying.
Hello. And
I said to him, and he's a white guy, and I said to him, I said, that's the problem with society. I said, you all are so quick to try to make Black people conform to your needs and your standards. And I said, and that's just not it. And I said, you're perceiving that somebody is angry when they're just passionate about whatever the topic is. That doesn't make them angry. And I said, and how dare you say that an HBCU need to, should they, or even the thought of should they teach Black women of how to be perceived as not the, no. If anything, y'all, the PWIs, the white institution, and your white corporations need to learn when you have your diversity class, how to work with Black people.
Right.
Hello.
Because we're not all the same. We don't have the same backgrounds. Hell, we could go to gospel music and CCM, whatever you call it. It ain't the same, and we don't have the same struggle.
At all.
We don't have the same struggle. So I was like, no, absolutely not. And he brought it up again in my presentation. I was like, Dr. such and such, my position doesn't change. I said what I said, and I meant what I said. No, HBCUs do not, under no circumstances, need to teach Black women or Black people how to, you know, conform. And I guess in saying that, I would have never gotten that out of HBCU.
Correct.
Like, none of my professors would have ever said to me, this is how you need to act in a white world. It was just more so, this is how you need to carry yourself as a Black person. And I just think that's just, I don't think that, you know, back to what Jokera has said earlier when you asked her, like, what were things in her foundation that she got at FAMU? A lot of things she said, I 1000% agree with. I just don't think I would have gotten that same foundation and those same tools and resources had I not gone to a HBCU.
No, I totally agree. No. Yeah, you definitely don't have that type of environment, unfortunately. Like I said, that's instilled at PWIs. Because, for example, it's very saturated with them. It's very saturated with their normal mentality. when you come across a Black person who has risen up the ranks of administration at a PWI, you might want to try your best to build a relationship, because that's really going to be your best ally to make sure business is handled. You know, Jokera mentioned about making sure, you know, with financial aid and just, you know, stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure every school has its struggles, but it's so much harder because, once again, a lot of us are probably on a variety of income-based scholarships.
Mhm.
You're put in a whole different category any goddamn way because you're coded in the system a certain way. And so I remember when we had this Black lady, she became the vice president of student affairs, and she was a Delta. We were excited because she was Black. But when I found out she was a Delta, I said, yes, I'm finna play this Greek card, in a way of just getting to know her and having an easier way for me to network with her. And baby, when I tell you, I'm pretty sure the other people, I wore them ragged. Because first of all, when I needed things to handle, and my biggest issue at FIU was at times having issues with financial aid. It coming in on time, it been processed on time. You're not finna sit here and show all this aid pending, but then these folks over here in the house, they want to kick me out because I didn't get their money. Like, see, I'm not finna play these kind of games. Because once again, me moving back home to Brevard County ain't an option. It was just different issues. So what I would do, I'm not walking in your office and I'm laughing inside my head because you talk about the angry Black woman. You know, sometimes we colors can go on there and be perceived as aggressive. And so I'm not finna deal with the chick at the receptionist who probably a student just like I am. I'm not finna deal with the person who her supervisor is. I need to deal with the person who got a title. I will build relationships with people who have titles. And anytime I talk to a young person that wants to go to a school that is a PWI, this is what benefited me as a person of color. When I need to have things handled, I'm not dealing with the middle man. Because we have to strive so much harder to stand out, to get what we need, to be considered equal. And I'm just not playing games. So yeah, I'll wait for her when she come back. And then it got to a point where I know they hated it because baby, I got her direct email, and I acquired her direct phone number. Oh, I know they hated it. Oh, they hated it. But once again, at an HBCU, they don't want to see y'all fail. So yeah, you may have some issues with financial, this, that, and the third, but there's just a culture of wanting to see each other thrive, wanting to see each other be successful. And I've always felt like if you fully embrace the HBCU experience and what all they instill, there's no reason for you not to be successful in whatever direction you want to go in. If you're not successful, you chose to not take advantage of all the different opportunities that were instilled in y'all. Because not to say it comes easier necessary, it's just that it's surrounded. Everywhere you look, those opportunities are there for y'all. Whereas at a PWI, it's not. You know, and then even just being Greek, you have all these white organizations in their council called Panhellenic. And then you have the Interfraternity Council, IFC. When I tell you, it's literally over 50 fraternities and sororities that are historically white. And you got us little D9 over here, just want to be in a conversation, just want to be, you know, in the same room when it came to certain opportunities. And then, for example, with us historically, Kappas, we historically came from a PWI. And so we were a part of ILC. We were a part of their council. And so when MPAC started, of course, we ended up becoming, you know, a part of MPAC. But for so many years, we were able to be a part of both. And so I will say that was one thing that benefited us at FIU for a while, just being able to be a part of both council. But even when you look at the expectations, when you will go to these council meetings with all fraternities there, and you got these, you know, these colors walking in the room. And not to say that it was blatant racism, but it was, Kappas had just, I was a charter member, so Kappas just came on, they're not used to seeing us. And even in the past where you may have had Kappas on campus, the chaplain was attached to another school. Because at that time, if your organization that you wanted to join your university did not have it, you could join through the nearest school that did. And so they had Kappas on campus, but because they're not attached to FIU or whatever, they was being actively in PAC, not worrying about trying to be a part of IMC. So even them accepting us and getting used to us, it was different. It was definitely different. And it became a feeling that we were used to. Having to walk into a room, having to prove ourselves, because it's already a sense of awkwardness. Not necessarily because of racism in the sense of, their race, they don't like us, get these ends out of here. But I think some of them grew up in a world where they weren't used to interacting with us. They grew up in their own little bubble, And I think with you guys, what is so amazing and powerful is that you did not have to go through that. However, you go into the real world, already have it instilled in you that you already know you gotta work 10 times harder. And so you go in there with this added shield, this added tenacity. And I've always thought that was amazing to see when it comes to people who come from HBCUs. One of the things that I came across was a bunch of myths about HBCUs. And so I just want to throw a few of them out there and get y'all opinion.
This should be interesting.
Very.
So I actually came across, because some of the websites repeated itself, but I came across 13 different ones.
13, okay.
I'm gonna start with you, Jokera. HBCUs are ghetto. I just want to know your thoughts, your opinions, your thoughts. The first
I got you. So, absolutely not. I mean, I feel like, think about us as like Black people culturally. Like, there might be some instances in some moments, but collectively, no. We're all there to get a higher education. We're all there learning to how to better ourselves. So I don't know how that gets classified as being ghetto.
But what's the definition of ghetto? Because what they deem as ghetto 5 years later or 2 years later, they still try to mock very hard.
They doing it, yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I mean, just because we don't, they go to class in pajamas and we get dressed to go to class.
That's a big difference. So this is what they said about the ghetto. The website that I found, this is what they said about the ghetto. HBCU students are often looked at in a distasteful manner socially. The word ghetto often comes up in the conversation. A ghetto is a large area of minorities. Although that sounds simple on paper, oppression, poverty, and economic disadvantages are a reality of the word. Unfortunately, PWIs are often living in these conditions, and they're making it synonymous with Black people. Mm-hmm. Due to the common stereotype, a lot of HBCUs are connected to the word ghetto just because the campus is full with mostly people of color.
But the larger question is why? So those same people who wrote that, I will counter back with them as to, well, why do you think HBCUs was created?
Hello.
Correct.
Like, let's not do that. Like,
hello.
Why do you think HBCUs were created?
Mm-hmm. And these same quote unquote ghetto people that they believe are attending these HBCUs will be the same ones to talk them down in a debate conversation, spit back whatever information that they don't even know or haven't researched it. Mm-hmm. So don't get it twisted at all. I mean,
or the same ones that's in your mouth, being your dentist, the same ones that's taking, performing medical procedures on you because they're your doctors, the same ones that are the same one that is currently your vice president of the United States of America.
Hello.
So, I mean, are all of these, people, and I'm sure there's countless other people, your engineers, your police officer who you're calling 9/11 for because you see, like, so are is everybody ghetto? Mm-hmm. But my bigger question is what the term ghetto, I don't know how I feel about that.
Right. Yeah. And it's crazy because I have a fraternity brother who he tatted up. I mean, tatted up, just tatted. And of course, that stereotype comes with being, you know, a hoodlum from the hood, whatever, whatever. And I remember him sharing a story about how he was in the store, all of his tatted showing, had just came from the gym. So he had like a tank top, nothing but tatted showing, and walks into a store looking to buy some things. And it wasn't no Foot Locker, so it was a store where you had to have some money. And of course, you walking in looking like that, of course, they're thinking, you won't layaway or you can't afford what's in here. You know what I'm saying?
He coming to steal.
Rob us, like what's going on? The sun about to set, so it's almost nighttime. If he's you know, scoping out the joint, and he's a whole goddamn surgeon.
Wow.
Wow.
A whole surgeon. Had more than enough money to buy what the hell was in y'all store, but you stereotyped him because he had it up. So yeah, a congregation full of Black people, they're gonna call it ghetto. But it also takes me to like a story about, not to go back to not to keep going to my organization, but one of the reasons why we carry canes is because back in the day, Black folks could not congregate together because the white people would think that we were trying to overthrow them. Too many Black people together. So for example, with just my 10 founders, they had to be very resourceful how they were going to meet, because just that small number, they would feel like we up to something. The Black folks are up to something. So we were hanging the canes in the tree, and whichever direction the hook was facing, that's the direction you would have to go to for us to try to meet up. You know, we ain't got cell phones, we ain't got, you know what I'm saying? So that's how we were able to communicate where the meeting was gonna be at, so that they wouldn't see us all in one car or walk down the street and then they just know we trying to overthrow something. And that's just the fear that they've always had with too many of us come together. So Brittany, the next one on this list is y'all go to HBCUs because you can't afford a PWI.
Well, I went to a private HBCU and
hello.
Expensive as hell.
Listen, it was not cheap. I'm not gonna say what I think hindsight 2020, but no, that is definitely false. There are a lot of HBCUs that are pricing. God forbid if you're not a state resident or whatever HBCU, if it's a public school, you're gonna spend quite a bit, Grip. So no, that's beyond false and ridiculous.
Right. Okay, another one for you, Brittany. Becoming intelligently aggressive. HBCUs make y'all intelligently aggressive.
It sounds like we're intelligently threatened.
That part.
I don't know about aggressive. No, I think HBCUs tap into something that maybe we didn't get in primary school,
Absolutely.
if you will, and makes us see our worth intelligently wise. Like, no, you are smart. No, you are intelligent. Yes, you can do this. Whatever you think is impossible, no, it is possible. So I think that's what HBCU prepares you for. And if the others are threatened by that, so may it be. But
I know that's right.
What we're not going to do is back down off of being.
Say that ain't my problem.
Not ever.
Hello, just because you can't keep up, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. Jokera, how about lack of academic competitiveness?
Lack of academic competitiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's such a myth as well, because I mean, just going back to what I was saying previously about our professors, it's more like they instill more than just the lesson in us. So I think we're getting more. So as far as them pushing us to learn the lesson, as far as the academic is concerned, then you get deeper as to, you know, why, and break it down to the different learning styles of the students as well. So it's definitely I think that me and some my classmates, those I've gone to school with, like they've done well, are in comparable positions, can, you know, are just as intelligent as the next.
Right.
Definitely, I would not say anything leading even remotely close to say that academics are better or teach you more at a PWI than a HBCU. Absolutely false.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna throw out 3 more. Jokera, leaves students in too much debt.
Okay, that's not the university that does. I mean, that's not the HBCU does that. That's
Right.
if somebody is in debt, that is the individual. I mean, there's plenty people in debt that went to PWIs in large debt.
Hello, somebody. Yeah.
So, and just how we were talking, you know, what the tuition differences in itself. But I think it's more about being educated and aware of, like, before you go, how you're funding school, and if it is that you have to fund with loans, being able to be responsible about what loans and how much you take out in loans, and that can happen at a PWI or HBCU. That's just, I think that isn't solely something for HBCU. That comes from a background of the individual, and and understandings of financial higher education finances.
Absolutely. Brittany, how about it promotes racism?
Can Black people be racist?
And there it is.
Let me read what they had to say about the racism one.
Case closed.
I didn't know we could be racist.
Listen.
Sure can't.
You know, that's what they say about Black Lives Matters, the Black Panther Party. You know, that's what they always said about those.
Because they just want
to talk about how the Black Panther Party started, like, you know, children literature, and, like, you know.
And you know, I felt so I was so ignorant to that for so long. I was so ignorant to that until I saw the Judas and the Black Messiah movie. I swear, I did not know that Black Panther was doing all that in the community.
Yes.
I was so mad at myself for not knowing that.
Yeah, man, they did a lot. I don't know why I feel like whenever Black people try to position or better the Black community, and I know this was not your original questions, I feel like we always get that target of, you know, the angry Black group, or, you know.
They twist it and throw it back on us. Oh, well, you said we racist for this, but y'all racist because y'all, you know, I was like, oh, y'all racist because now y'all got y'all own schools. That's because y'all wouldn't let us in y'all schools. What you talking about?
Hello. And no, I think HBCUs, they help us. I don't even know if help is the right word, but they instill us a sense of pride of being Black and what it means to be Black and how powerful it is to be a Black person in this world, in this country, if you will. But no, Black people can't be racist. So,
and then just the realization of when we come together, what Black people are able to, absolutely. You know,
I people didn't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think if, like, this younger generations, I don't know what they call one of the alphabet letters down below. What do they call it? Generation Z? I don't know.
Oh yeah, I don't know what this one is. Yeah.
Okay, those.
I don't even know what I am.
Yeah. But I think if they don't I think the state of Georgia showed us recently, like, what we can do when we come together as Black people.
Absolutely.
You know, if we need a living example within the last 5 years, that alone should show us what Black people can do when we come together and exercise our rights, or, you know, when we come together, how powerful we are.
Right.
And I think I think the white people have gotten a hold to our mind and our mindset to make us think otherwise.
Oh yeah.
And I think now we're starting to reprogram our mindset and start to understand the value of being Black, the value of Black dollars, the value of, you know, when we come together and how we can change things.
Absolutely. You know, I expected to learn a lot. I expected to really thrive off of this conversation with you two ladies. So first of all, I thank you for that. And y'all two definitely did not disappoint. One thing I want to say or ask lastly is just going out of here, what was one of your favorite memories from your HBCU? Whichever one want to go first. Any memory, I'm pretty sure it's a lot.
It is a lot. I think, oh gosh, I think for me, I think 2002, I got into like a really, really bad car accident, right? And just for me, seeing my friends from the school, how they rallied around me at the hospital, how the president of the university,
Oh, wow.
Called and checked on me, sent flowers to the hospital. That's just something that just solidified to me why I went to a HBCU. It's something that showed me like, it's more than just a school, right? It's a family. It's a family affair. We're with you from beginning until the end.
Absolutely.
And that's just something I will never, and my family won't ever forget, because we talk about it often of, I just don't think I would have gotten that same love, that same affirmation, had I not gone to a HBCU.
Hell no. Jokera.
Shoot. I can't think of one in particular, but I can say that I definitely have some very strong, lasting relationships that I made while I was at FAMU. Friends who have definitely become family, for sure. And I mean, the camaraderie is like undeniable, in the sense that, like, all you have to see, like, I can be right now, I'm in DC, but I have a FAMU tag on the back of my car. And if it's somebody at the stoplight, they're blowing at me to, throw the Rattler strike, or to say how in some kind of way get their attention, because like, we're all over the place. And just like, I mean, for real, the HBCU as a whole, but also, the individual universities are kind of, in a sense, give you the same bond and family feel that those fraternities and sororities feel in such a way. So you still have that connections, and just that family, or that family oriented vibe to as soon as you see, oh, you also went to, okay, you just feel not necessarily even obligated, but you want to help the next person. So those are the things that I definitely value, and I can't replace, and would never forget, as far as being on the Hill for those 4 years. I honestly, I was in and out in 4, but sometimes I wish that I had
a little longer,
drug it out a little longer, but I, like we was talking about earlier, I didn't want to be a super senior and be one of those stereotypes, but but yeah, I wouldn't have changed it for the world.
Amen. You beautiful, amazing, wonderful ladies. I thank y'all. I thank y'all for the support. I thank you guys for sharing all this information. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And so I just thank you guys. I'm really appreciative of this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You ladies take care.
Right,
you too.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Yeah.
So in talking about this subject of HBCUs, I was very excited to have this young man here today. This is someone who is a proud graduate of Florida A&M University, but also who is a proud member of Kappa Psi Fraternity Incorporated, so one of my amazing fraternity brothers, and that is Javon Johnakin.
Yes,
what's going on today, sir?
Nothing much. Everything going you?
Absolutely, going pretty good. Can't complain.
Absolutely.
A boy from the South, born and raised in South Florida. How and why did you choose HBCU? What made you choose FAMU?
Well, initially, I didn't have any plans, honestly, to go to HBCU or even FAM at that. But I have a few cousins. I have two actually. They both went to FAMU. They are both distinct alum, and I will always go to the classic. That was another thing. I didn't know what it was, honestly.
Right.
I would always go there when I was younger, but then as I got older, I was like, oh, this is, what makes up, the whole HBCU experience. Going to FAMU. But that was one of the main things. So my cousins, they both attended. And of course, by word of mouth, they kept, the life experience that you're going to get if you do choose to go to FAMU. And also, it was being, going to HBCU, I feel like it would give me opportunity to go to an institution where I feel comfortable in terms of going to someone that looks just like you and I.
Right.
And I feel like it would, give me a better success in the future, or for my academic success as a whole.
And you went to which school in Miami? South Florida. What high school you went to?
High school, I went to Monsignor Edward Pace, so that was a Catholic school.
Okay.
And so honestly, going to an institution, a high school with Hispanics by the Catholic majority, it was a big transition, going to an institution where the population was majority Black.
Right. And how was it being a student athlete? Because you didn't just have academic achievement. You was an athlete. What was that like at a HBCU?
It was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I think being as a student athlete as a whole, we got some advantages here and there. I mean, we missed some classes, so that was pretty good. No one wants to be in class. Well, I'm gonna say no one wants to be in class, but because that's how you learn, you get your education. But it was challenging because we had to, travel. One day we're traveling, the next day we're back in school. So it was pretty tough on the body at times, but it was a great experience though.
What are 3 things that you feel your HBCU experience instilled in you as a Black man, young Black man?
Let's see. I would say my work ethic for one, because going to an HBCU, I feel like we have to prove ourselves 10 times harder compared to our counterparts at a PWI. Today's society, the HBCU gets kind of frowned upon compared to a PWI. Also life experience. Going to in a HBCU, I feel like you're going to experience a lot of things that you probably won't experience at a PWI.
Right.
But that's just how that is. It's life. You're going to learn a lot of valuable lessons, and from there you grow upon that. You learn from those lessons, and you see how you can improve yourself better as a person.
I think that's interesting. You say that's what your HBCU experience instilled in you, because I think from the first time meeting you and just my own personal assessment, I've always felt like you had a great balance on social life and business. You have an avid social life, but you're always on top of business, whether that's academics, whether that's other layers to your personal life. Someone that's very structured, someone that is very confident. People who don't know you, first impression may be arrogance. Not for me, it wasn't, but for some people, I've always thought to be confident and assured because you know who you are. You know what you bring to the table. You know what your journey has been, and you're very confident and self-assured in that, on top of coming from a good upbringing. And so I think that's amazing that those are some of the characteristics that you said HBCU instilled in you. I think that's dope. What was it that helped you keep that balance? Because a lot of times, for example, in backup and looking into HBCUs, and me coming from PWI, I wanted to be more versed into what some of the myths were about HBCUs. And so one of them is, of course, they love to stereotype HBCUs as being a party school.
Party school, yeah.
And some people go to FAM or some people go to HBCUs and they fail out. They go there, they don't take it serious. What was it that instilled in you that you knew from the moment you stepped forward, even maybe you knew before you even stepped foot on campus, I got to come here and handle business? How was you able to keep that balance?
So, like you just said it. A lot of people, they, of course, they think of HBCU as a party school or FAM as a whole. but that's any institution. You're going to go somewhere, you're going to party, but you also have to realize what is the fundamental purpose and reason that me being there, and that's to get an education. Do your 4 years, do what you got to do, party at the same time, but still at the end of the day, in the back of your head, I'm here for one reason, and that's to get an education. Keeping yourself well balanced, and handle your priorities first. Don't be too complacent. Never settle. But you have a goal. You have to keep going for that goal, reach after it. And again, I said it, have your priorities here one way, but still know that you are there for one purpose. Get an education so you can provide for yourself in the future.
What do you think about the stereotype of HBCUs having a lack of diversity?
What do I think about the stereotype? Let's see. I wouldn't say it's much of a stereotype. I mean, well, I guess you can, because it's HBCU, historically Black college. But me going to FAM, there was some diversity there. Obviously it's not as much, but you're going to have your Asian population. You're going to have, that small majority of whites. But going to these schools, these HBCUs, they offer a different curriculum compared to a PWI. So that drives people from the outside who want to pursue a certain, curriculum.
Right.
But it is, I mean, it's a known stereotype, of course, but I would like for it to be a little more diverse. But HBCUs, we even need more Black people to join the HBCU experience.
What about the notion that people who go to HBCUs couldn't afford to go to a PWI?
Well, I wouldn't say they can't afford it, because at the end of the day, there are some people who are going to HBCU and they're getting loan money.
Absolutely.
So, but it's the fact that we choose to want to go somewhere where we feel comfortable. We're going to have fun too, but at the end of the day, education is key. Yeah, that's basically what I got to say about that.
And I think that notion is based off of just ignorance and not knowing, for the simple fact that you have public HBCUs, you have private HBCUs. Yeah. Me going to Florida International University, that's a public PWI that is very, let's be honest, it's cost effective. It's not that expensive. Versus you go to some of these private HBCUs, they're vastly more expensive. Than UCF or than some of these other popular public institutions. So I think that that particular one for me, I was kind of annoyed when I saw that, because I was just like, that's so incorrect on many levels. This one I also don't agree with, just because of knowing so many HBCU alumni are robbed of the ability to network.
They are robbed of the ability to network.
Right.
Go more in depth about that.
So it is assumed that because at HBCUs you're surrounded by people who look like me and you. So we know how to talk to each other all day long. But when you go into the real world, you're dealing with different types of people. And so this assumption is, because you are not used or have the skills to be around white, Spanish, what other races on a regular basis, when you go into the real world, you're not going to be able to mix and mingle and be able to network and build connections with these other races. That's the assumption.
I wouldn't necessarily say you can't build these, I guess, relations. But I think that all just depends on you as an individual. Are you that type of person who wants to, of course, network, get yourself exposed to more individuals and selling yourself to others? Because if you want something, you know, you're going to put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
And sell your craft. But as far as like, I think it's important to have like certain programs within your HBCU, so that we know and so that we can learn and know how to network with others.
Right.
Because I think relationships, that's very key. You build a certain network or a bond. You never know what that person can do for you in the future.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I will say I've loved about people who come from HBCUs is that pride. There is a pride that exists in y'all. I don't care what environment y'all are in. I don't care what the conversation is about. You let somebody attack y'all HBCU. And and I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just the pride for the institution. It's what the institution meant to y'all. It's what the institution instilled in y'all. And it's the history of where these institutions come from. And I think because we are well aware that in our community, it is a fact that we have to work extra hard to sometimes be in the same conversation or at the same table with other certain races, that this is something that is instilled in the forefront at HBCUs. And I feel like if you embrace the full HBCU experience, and that's what these teachers and programs instill in you all, it makes you so prepared, I feel, for the real world, because you already go into it knowing what to expect. Whereas I think sometimes those of us who go to PWIs, we can be jaded and thinking that, or naive, and thinking that they're going to accept us because we're always around them. We're used to being around whites. We're used to mixing, mingling, and you know, being in these organizations. Because some of our fraternities, some of our student government, other organizations, we're constantly working with them. We're constantly having these relationships with these other races. And so we go into the real world thinking it's going to be the same. And that's a huge misconception that I feel some of us have coming from PWIs. I think for me, being born and raised in a, I mean, it's not really a small town, but of course not a bit of South Florida. I come from a very diverse high school, a very diverse town. So aspects of racism that existed, I never experienced. I never even had really an experience of racism until I was in my mid-20s. You know, so growing up, of course I'm not naive enough to think that it didn't exist. You know, of course I knew people who experienced it in my town. I just never experienced it. And going to a predominantly Black school where we had Caucasians that we got along with, that we were close with, that were, you know, star athletes on a football team full of colors. What I can say I saw was white privilege. But as far as racism, didn't see that. And so me going to a PWI, it mirrored what I was used to seeing in high school. But the first time I went to an HBCU, which happened to be FAM, the year before I pledged, it was a wake-up call for me, just simply based off of at a PWI, Black folks, we're kind of clicked off. You have the Americans, you have the Caribbean students, you have, you know, we're not necessarily one big old happy family.
Like that one little click.
Right.
And
whereas,
sorry to put y'all like that's how like UCF, have some friends that go there, but or even like Florida State, because it's right across the track in Tallahassee. I mean, you have all your whites together in one section. You have the Blacks, you have the Asians in one little clique. But it was like, I mean, I didn't really, I guess, like that. And I guess that's why just going to FAMU, you know, it was just an eye-opener, because it's like, wow, like you have all these people from all walks of the country, and they're intelligent too. Right. You know, they're all Black educated people. And it was just a great experience to just, you know, see people like me to want to, you know, gain an education. You know, it's just a beautiful thing. Just experience again all these Black people in one setting.
And at FAMU, when you have, you know, of course, non-Blacks that come there, how are they received, or how were they received when you were there?
I mean, they were received with welcome arms, honestly, because honestly, it took courage, I guess, to want to sit up here and come to HBCU, knowing that you're not Black, knowing that you may sit up and get picked on because of maybe white or Asian, but you know, we accepted them. You know, they were just like one of us.
What was one hurdle, if any, that you faced while you were at FAMU, and how you dealt with it?
Honestly, I don't think I really had a hurdle. I just always surrounded myself with people that were like me and around positive people. And I went to school with some people that were from Miami. So it's not like I was in a bad spot or anything like that. I didn't hang around, I guess, the likes of some other Black people.
Right.
But that's still my culture. I knew how to distance myself from foolishness or nonsense. I would say probably just the biggest hurdle was probably sometimes just keeping that GPA up because I was a student athlete, so at the same time,
The social life, specifically the love life.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Were you able to balance the women? Did you have one at FAM, one at TCC, one at FSU?
Everybody has some. But I mean, that's another thing too. You got to be mindful of. Women can distract you. You just got to make sure you again keep focused. But they can help you out as well. Mm-hmm. As long as you push her and she pushes you, right. Y'all both achieve y'all goals. Y'all good. But with me, my experience, it was actually pretty great because she was also an athlete as well. Mm-hmm. But we really saw each other like that. So it wasn't much of a distraction. Mm-hmm. It was a pro and a con to it. So it was pretty good.
What would you say are three of your favorite memories at FAMU?
The band, the classic, and everything, all of the homecoming experience. Because it's just a rich tradition of that, dating back since October 3rd, 1887.
Better spit them facts.
Yeah. Also, I guess the people that I've encountered and I've met, and we've all still been friends to this day. And of course, I would say just the whole, like, the alumni, they come back, they treat us well, they take pride in their school, and they're just diehard Rattler fans,
Yeah, because I swear, Rattlers, especially us being in Florida, y'all are everywhere. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a job where there wasn't a Rattler. So there are Rattlers, and I have them all through my family, so I'm used to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let's say I was an individual. I ain't know nothing about the HBCU, nothing about FAMU, but I have a hunger there to want to learn more. What are three things that you would say to me to encourage me to give them a shot or look into them?
Look at the rich and the tradition that FAMU holds. Also the great academic achievements. We've also been noted as, probably several times that I know of, as one of the best HBCUs in the land.
Absolutely.
And even though, also in terms to one of the best College of Pharmacy and Pharmaceuticals schools in the nation. So, we produce a lot of graduates who come out here with different degrees in all fields. And of course, through your research is key to see, does this institution fit you?
Right.
And if not, of course, you can choose other options. But I don't think that will be a problem because FAMU is going to be your number one choice.
I know that's right. That's right. Yeah. Are there any regrets, sir? When you think about your time in college and you think about being at FAMU, does Mr. Javon Johnakin have any regrets?
I would say probably just took school. I wouldn't say school. I took school serious, but probably just put myself more out there because I'm an only child, so it was just a little timid for me at times. I could be very shy. But I guess just, putting myself out there more and selling myself to others. So maybe I could have been in a better position once I graduated. Okay. So, I probably could have went to more career fairs, probably joined a little more programs, just selling myself. But, I was just a regular student. I went to class, had to do
what you're supposed to do.
What I'm supposed to do. But I feel like I could have done more, but it is what it is.
Right. Listen, I've always said I'm proud of you. I'm excited for what your future holds. I thank you for taking time out of your schedule to have this conversation. I think it's necessary, especially to see a young Black man, young generation, to come out of a great institution like FAMU. Currently, you've moved on educationally. Career wise, you're doing well, and the future is very bright. Thank you, sir. I hope you have a good day. I thank you for being a part of this, Mr. Javon.
Take care, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, well, definitely. Take care.
Thank you.
So in talking about the HBCU subject, I definitely felt it important to have people that I know specifically that have attended HBCUs, that have benefited from HBCUs, and it taught me a lot being able to know these individuals personally. And one of them is Miss Corine Lamont. Karine, how are you today?
Doing well. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Corine Lamont is a person that I have known, oh God, since what, about the 7th grade, Stone Junior High School?
Middle school.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing person and friend. She is a proud graduate of Alabama A&M University.
That's right.
What year you graduated?
Ooh,
I know we old.
2006. I graduated 2006.
You know, it's almost 20 years since we've been out of high school.
Oh, I got to tell everybody that.
Okay, sorry. So I just want to get into it. Why Alabama A&M? What was it that attracted you to Alabama A&M? Was HBCUs your only option? What was it for you?
This is gonna sound so.
Just be honest.
To be honest, so I did know I wanted to go to HBCU. You know, growing up in Palm Bay, Florida, it was diverse, but I wanted more. I wanted more of us, more culture, more African American studies and things to that nature. So I did know I wanted to go to HBCU. So my senior year, one of my cousins, they brought me this book that listed all of the colleges and universities in the United States. Literally, Alabama A&M University was the first one in the book because it was, in alphabetical order. So I was like, oh, okay. So I looked at the statistics and facts. I was like, okay. I went online, did a little research, went to Alabama A&M campus website itself, and I saw that they had a hair salon on campus. And I said, oh, I'm going to apply there based off of the hair salon on campus. I know.
I mean, well, you always kept yourself up, Karine, so I mean.
But look, here's the funny thing. In my 4 years, well, no, I'm going to be honest, in my 5 years there, yes, 5 years, I never, ever went to that hair salon, ever.
Not one time.
Not one time. But that was like, oh, I'm going to apply to have a hair salon. Ooh, yeah. It's HBCU. It's out of state. I wanted to go out of state to get away. Again, we have, a few other friends that stayed in state. And for Florida, it's usually FAMU. Then I thought, I want to do something a little different. So that is how I ended up at Alabama A&M University.
And I've always felt like, for me, that I did myself a disservice by not attending HBCU. When I look at our class and just a lot of people that I'm close with, a lot of y'all went to HBCUs. And me going to a PWI, I guess PHI, because there's so many Hispanic people, but me going to a PWI, I thought it was amazing because I was around so many different cultures. So I thought it was opening my eyes and broadening my horizons to the world from that perspective. I felt like the world is a melting pot. I'm going to a school that represents that.
And see, I felt I had that in high school.
Oh, we did.
So again, I felt I had that in high school. So it was like, I want something a little different.
And see, I feel like I wish that was me because I love all about our Blackness, our music, our entertainment. I love being at African American Assembly every year in high school, being in charge of it our senior year. Went to FIU, Florida International University. I was involved in, Black Student Union and all those organizations, Pleasure historically, Greek fraternity as well as the Jew. And I remember the first time I had ever stepped on an HBCU.
It's just a different feeling, isn't it?
Karine, listen.
Completely.
I didn't even know what the hell was going on. I didn't. It was the year before I even went online. It was the year before I pledged capital, and I went to FAMU to visit some friends. And this is during the summertime. FIU so dead during the summertime. Like there's nothing going on. You might have a little things going on during what they call summer B, which is when sometimes the freshmen or those who are starting summer school, like they may do a little bit for welcome week for the the freshmen. It's dead during the summer. I get on FAMU campus. They had this event called the Crab Boil.
Okay.
First of all, outside the food been amazing, which you don't get at where the hell I was at. The amount of people, the student union, of course, FAMU is huge, but just the pride y'all put into each other, the pride y'all put into y'all events, everything from the color, from the structure to the music to the food is oozing in Blackness and Black people, like soul food, fried fish, grits. Baby, you're not getting no goddamn grits at no FIU. You gotta go into
the grits, not one time.
You better take your behind in the hood and go to one of those Black restaurants. And they weren't close to FIU. So I gotta like always try to, it was crazy. And the Greeks were out there, student government, and it was just.
It's just rich in culture. You have a sense of belonging, feeling good, like you said, that pride, and it's just it's within us. It's in our soul. Just the minute you step on that campus, you can't explain it. You can't explain it. And ironically, you said that you felt you did yourself a disservice. I've actually had many teachers when I was in high school and adults, African American, try to persuade me otherwise. Why you want to go to HBCU?
Right.
You're doing yourself a disservice. That's not what the world is. Your career isn't like that. You're doing yourself a disservice surrounding yourself by only a whole bunch of Black people. That's not how your career, your profession is going to be.
Yeah.
And I was just like blown away. Here I am from these prominent members really in the community too.
Absolutely.
Prominent members in our community persuaded me otherwise, and you do so much for our community, for Blacks, but you're persuading me to go a different route.
Yeah. So
I was very taken back from that, like, wow. But I'm glad, I've always been a strong, independent person. That didn't push me any of, once I set my mind to something, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to, fulfill to do. And I'm glad that I didn't let that persuade me to look elsewhere. So,
and I'm glad you brought it up in regards to people who look like me and you, who come from the community, who are big parts in the community, will still persuade us to go to non-Black schools, because I will be honest and say that I worked hard in high school to have a certain GPA. And it was, I'm not gonna say embedded in me, but it was something that was communicated to me, and I don't know, I guess I was foolish in believing that because I'd worked so hard to have a certain GPA and certain academic achievements, that I'd be settling if I went to a school, quote unquote, who had lower standards. For example, if you apply to UM, FSU, UCF, these are their admission requirements. But it was presented as if, look how easy it is to get into some of these other Black schools. Look how low a SAT or ACT score you can have to get in. Look how low of an expectation of a GPA you can have to get in.
That wasn't a deciding factor for me at all. It wasn't people talk down about them. You're trying to persuade me to do otherwise. Oh, anybody can get into that school. I didn't have that thought on me at all. It was like, this is what I wanted. This is what I know. When I went to visit, and I went and visited a couple of HBCUs, and I think I actually went to LSU too. Again, it's just a different feeling. The minute you're on the campus, it's just a different feeling. Yeah. I knew it, you couldn't deter me not to.
Right. Yeah. I've always wished that my mindset at that age was difficult. Let me be honest. When I applied for schools, although I applied for, because first of all, if I was going to be in Florida, I would have to, the only city I want to live in was Miami.
I
I have a lot of, it's part, not just because of the social aspect, but I do have a lot of family here. And so Miami has always been like second home. So all of my schools that I applied to other than that was out of state. And I applied to 2 HBCUs. I applied to Tuskegee and got accepted. I applied to Johnson C. Smith in Carolina and got accepted. And it's so funny. You know, you brought up about how when you was attracted to A&M was because of the hair salon. I ain't gonna tell you, when I applied to Johnson C. Smith, it's because in the thing they was telling us they was give us a laptop. And I ain't even had a laptop.
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay.
That we like, huh? And you know, like I said, I don't regret it at all. I know it sounds like, are you serious? But
yeah, if I could go back in time, I feel like if I could go back in time, I would have chosen. And I got money and aid for all of them. I think going back in time, I would have chose Tuskegee. I feel like I would have chose Tuskegee. I definitely would have chosen HBCU. Parts of me feel like I got my bachelor's degree. Dang, I should have at least went to an HBCU for my master's. I just feel like the preparation, the diversity, there's a fire in all of y'all. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care what kind of conversation I'm having. Anybody that I meet that has come from an HBCU, there is something that is internalized, that pride. It is infectious. It really fuels the success to want to be better, to really adequately represent people of color. And the fact that, look, I can accomplish this as a person of color, and I got my education from an HBCU. Because I think one of the things that I learned from doing my own research, of course, is that clearly, just because you went to a non-Black school, Ivy League, whatever, that don't mean the curriculum is at a certain quality. These HBCUs have excellent curriculums and top research schools, STEM schools, all that kind of stuff. And so I think I love the fact that over the years, more awareness has come to the forefront. Yeah.
And not only that, I think, like you said, it's sewn into us from our professors, because they're like, you know, the saying, we're living our ancestors' dream.
Right.
It's sewn into us. They sew into us. They want us to do good. They want us to do great. It's not, it's just another student. Oh, it's 70 people in here. No, they sew into us. Do you hear me? Each and every one of us, at least 2-3 teachers have pulled me to the side. And I'm not very talkative, very social. I could be the student that kind of just falls to the back, like, okay, she's gonna do what she need to do. I don't really need to so much, but everyone is sewing something into you because they want you to do better and be better. You know, they know that you're here for something. So just being on that campus, and like I said, Alabama A&M, it was founded by a former slave. So just all of that richness and culture, the pride, everyone there, again, like you said, our head is held up high. We're here to do something. Absolutely. And we're going to fulfill that.
Absolutely. Now, of course, one of the stereotypes is that HBCUs are party schools. Which, please, I've been to all kind of schools.
They say that PWI schools.
Hello.
Which y'all, what it is, y'all, your bear thing, what is called?
Which one?
Your keg of bears and all of that.
Oh,
I think some stuff about, right.
And what got me was, how do they stereotype? What did they see to stereotype Black schools outside the color of our skin, that they're party schools? The foolishness that I would at times engage in and see being in Miami, surrounded by us and other races, like Karine, the story.
I think it is just that, a stereotype, because I think in actuality, any college, university, you're gonna party, you're young, you're an adult, you're actually free on your own.
Even if it's a Christian college,
so right, that is actually a part of college. That is one of, you know, the things that you will go through. But again, it's still up to that individual to stay grounded and do what you came there to do. You have to balance it out. That's a part of maturing in college, period. So I think it is exactly just that, a stereotype to say, oh, HBCUs is just a party school.
Yeah, I definitely think HBCUs, there's also a well-balanced environment or way of life, because you have that party aspect. You have professors who instill in you being better because you're living your ancestors' dreams, and then you join these organizations that instill leadership or enhance your already leadership qualities that exist, whether it's Greek life or whether it's student government or other organizations. And you mentioned something that I liked about the fact that you had teachers that will pull you aside and instill stuff in you. At an HBCU looking like us, we're seen, we're heard. Yeah. Whereas at my school, you're another number. You have to work extra hard to be noticed or extra hard to stand out. You're just a number. Mm-hmm. You can be in a stadium classroom full of people. Them teachers don't know who you are, can get two craps about it. You know what I'm saying? What would you say was a defining moment for you attending an HBCU when you was just really impacted internally?
When I was, I think my senior year, I had got sick, and I'm a private person, so no one really knew I was sick, what was going on. And like I said, a teacher that I can't remember the class, but I remember her name, Miss Battle. Miss Battle. She reached out to me. She actually came to my dorm. I've never I always seen her, talking to students, but she was like that mom parent, that mom teacher, she was very strict, and it was always, oh, this is late, it's late. Like, you have expectation, this is that. But again, it's kind of like you don't appreciate it until you're older, until you're gone. So when you're going through it, it's like, she doing too much. Everyone. But I missed a couple of classes, and not a lot, because classes like Monday, Wednesday or something. So maybe I missed 2 weeks. She had called me, but I thought it was more so to get on me, like, you're here.
Why you've been missing?
Why you're not doing your work? I expect more from you.
Right.
And I ignored the call. I ignored it. Like, this lady, she don't know what I'm going through, what's going on. Like, She came to my dorm. She came to my dorm, and I'm peeping. We had little people. I'm like, what in the world? And she came and she just sat with me. She said, honey, I don't know what's going on, but you missing quite a few assignments and days. Everything okay? And I was just so taken back, like, oh, okay, why? Oh, wow, okay. And she literally sat with me probably for about 30 minutes, just talking, literally to just check on me, and wrote down the assignments. It was so many things that I was missing, and I, ended up telling her, that I was actually sick, that I'm not just, skipping class or whatever.
Right.
I was sick. And then from that day till today, I'm still in contact with her. We'll still check in every months. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Again, very unexpected, but just putting forth that extra effort. I had no warrant for her to come really check on me. No other teacher did. Again, just a defining moment, like, wow, why are you here? Okay. Mm-hmm. Like, someone is really here watching over me. I have to see this through. It's not, okay, let me take a submit. No, I got to keep pushing. I'm here for a reason.
Right. And then another thing I love is homecoming. Homecoming at HBCU is just like, what is this? This is like
no other. Now that's where the party is, right? That's the party.
And that's another, and that's another testament to y'all pride, because y'all could be 45-year-old. Like, you could have been done graduated 4 to 5 years ago, but that alumni pride and going back to home.
That's what I was going to say. So the homecoming at HBCU, when you're there, it's great. It's homecoming, but it's even a bigger party, a bigger family reunion when you go back as an alumni, and then you really celebrate homecoming. Mm-hmm. Yes, nothing like it.
That is awesome. And then you became a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I was very happy for you. Did that, going to an HBCU, Greek life, I'm sure, is very big. Does it seem like a mandate or an expectation?
I don't think so. I became a member of the illustrious Alpha Kappa Incorporated sorority because, again, growing up where we're from, my mom was very heavily in the community. Mm-hmm. And I was around educated people. And I was fortunate, to hear different stories, and of course, watching A Different World,
Right.
School Days, but actually hearing conversation from older adults, what it was like to be in a sorority and a fraternity. And again, I didn't see that so much in Palm Bay, Florida.
Right.
I didn't
Right.
see that. But speaking to these older adults, it was like, okay. And then they had a junior charmettes, like a junior AKA group where I was even further exposed to it. And I was like, wow. So again, that was definitely something that I looked at to when I was wanting to attend HBCU too, because I knew I wanted to be a part of a sorority.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's amazing because a lot of them, as we know, a lot of them were founded at HBCUs, so that makes it so much better. And then they're in, A&M is in Huntsville?
Yes. Well, it's actually Normal, Alabama. So
Normal,
really just
Alabama.
where the school is considered Normal, Alabama.
Interesting. Okay.
See, I just taught you something. Interesting fact. It's Normal,
You
Alabama.
did. Right. Did A&M, I know a lot of times these Black schools have their rivalries. I know here in Florida, you Spam and Bethune. Does A&M have one? What, their rival?
Alabama State University. I have a cousin there now. Are you serious? What is wrong with you? Yes.
That's so
Alabama
funny.
State.
Okay, interesting. And so you are an educator for how many years now?
14 years.
That is amazing, Karine.
14
And it's specifically because you're not just teaching regular students. I think you're instilling those who have certain challenges, correct?
Right. So I currently teach special education in an urban setting, low income, 14 years. 14 years in.
While at A&M, did you know what kind of teacher you wanted to be, or did it kind of just happen for you in a way?
I guess I like a challenge. So I knew, well, actually going into college, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just knew I had to go to college. I wanted to go to college. I wanted better. I wanted to experience outside of Florida, outside of Palm Bay, Florida. So I went with the intent to actually be a psychologist.
Okay.
So I went to be a psychologist, talking to a couple of people, was like, you know, you really have to own your own practice to really make some good money. And I switched from psychology to a social worker.
Okay.
Went into social work and seen a lot of people are so burnt out and stressed with the caseloads, and you right, can you just like, yeah. It's so much. And then I ended up in teaching. So all of it, my passion has still been, you know, instilled in helping people and within the community. And I ended up taking some education courses. So then when I took some courses and we had to take intro to like special ed and disabilities, I had a real strong interest in it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go this route.
And you've been there for 14 years, specifically special ed, right? 14, that's awesome.
All 14, yeah.
You were to meet a young person, a Black person, who has no idea of the benefits of HBCU, don't even know what an HBCU is. What 3 things would you tell them to encourage them to at least give it a shot, at least look into it? What 3 things would you tell them?
Do your research. Do your own research and go where your heart leads you to. I don't want to persuade anybody to, if it's not within you and your heart, I can't persuade you. I don't want it to come back, oh, they told me. No, do your research. You have to do your own research, whatever persuades you to go, and whether it's the HBCU or not. But I would just say, do your research. Don't let anyone else tell you differently. Do your own research and you will see we have just as many doctors, engineers,
absolutely, scientists,
phenomenal things, known things. Do your research.
And I just another reason that I love talking about HBCUs is because of the fact that, it's probably one of the reasons why I love talking about Black history, period, is just the amount of amazing people, doctors, lawyers, politicians, entertainers, scientists, people that have really done some amazing work that we are thriving off of because of the work that they're doing. And they all are products of HBCUs. And these are not things that are always put out there when they're promoted. Baby, you come from an Ivy League school, they're going to throw that school all over your introduction, you know what I'm saying? But if you, of course, I think it's gotten better, not just because of Kamala, but I do think it's gotten better because of other people. But it's like, once again, our accomplishment get diminished.
It does.
And especially if your education is not from one of their schools, it can tend to get diminished and overshadowed. And I think it's amazing that that has changed so much and that people are really recognizing. One of the things I wanted to do prior to even having these conversations with HBCU grads is to look into the myths and to compare. See the conversations, see the research that has taken place in regards to PWIs versus HBCUs. And it's been absolutely amazing to see the amount of things that HBCUs have accomplished. Like I said, STEM school, research schools, and are ranked top. And when yeah.
Only about do your research.
That's it.
Don't let this person tell you that. Don't do your research.
Right.
We on the map. We're doing great things.
Amazingly. And let's be clear, better than some of the other schools. And I think a lot of times, something else that people like to throw up are scandals. First of all, nothing in life is perfect. Nobody, every goddamn school got something that they're having to deal with. The difference is when it's us, it's more entertaining. It's salacious. You got to, baby, anything negative with us, baby, they be quick to exploit it.
They don't want to highlight all the good, but anything negative, like you said, did you hear about it? But Did you hear about this engineer? Did you hear about this scientist? They want to highlight all the negative.
Yeah, but let some scandal happen at one of their schools, baby. They'll spend millions to keep that under the rug.
Exactly, cover it up.
Because look at this admission scandal. Not a colored, not a HBCU. None of us was involved in that mess. And look how long it was going on. Let that have been.
I'm not surprised about it though. I mean, yeah, that's been going on for centuries. That's their way. Where we actually had to work hard and continue to work hard. That's their way.
Yeah. And it's, once again, it's why Black people are so prideful. It's why these universities matter. It's why these universities are so dedicated to making sure that you guys continue to be on the map, continue to accomplish, and make sure that everything you guys have done continue to be sustained. And so I just love that. I love that. So I am very grateful to you, ma'am, my good old friend. Thank you for supporting me and having this conversation.
Absolutely.
It is always great talking to you. And I'm very happy for you and just everything you got going on.
No, I'm excited and happy for you. Again, this is your platform. You have been an amazing friend through all these years, and I wish you nothing but more success. It's yours. I promise you it's yours.
Thank you. And goodbye to you and that beautiful daughter you have. Y'all take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for the Zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. If you can still find light, a blessing, or level up in these dark times of society, the vision of success is in you.